Hey guys, tonight we slip into the shimmering sands of ancient Egypt, where you're not just anyone, you're a pharaoh, a living god draped in gold, waking to a world where every step echoes with divine weight. Picture it, dawn's first rays, kiss the limestone walls of your sprawling palace in Thebes, casting long shadows across lotus-carved columns. The air hums with incense, and distant chants of priests tickle your ears. You're about to navigate a day crammed with rituals, power plays, and the kind of responsibility that could crush a lesser soul. Fair warning, keeping the cosmos in balance while dodging court intrigue, you probably won't survive this unscathed. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is there. Maybe you're in New York at midnight or Sydney at noon. Let me know. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir on a bed of ebony, its frame inlaid with ivory and gold. The linens beneath you, so fine, they feel like a whisper against your skin. Barefoot servants, silent as shadows, leader, in, their eyes lowered in reverence. They carry copper basins of warm water scented with myrrh, and you catch the faint tang of natron salt as they prepare to cleanse you. This isn't just a bath, it's a sacred act, purifying your divine body to align with Ma'at, the cosmic order you're tasked with upholding. You sit up, and a servant drapes a linen cloth over your shoulders, while another kneels to anoint your feet with oil. The air feels charged, like the moment before a storm, and you can't shake the sense that every move you make is watched not just by your entourage, but by the gods themselves. Your grooming is a ritual in itself, a performance of divinity. A servant shaves your head with a bronze razor, the blade catching the flicker of torchlight. No lice or imperfection, contained to God, king's body. Another applies kohl to your eyes, the black lines sharp against your skin, not just for style, but to shield you from Ra's blinding glare. Historians note that kohl also had medicinal properties, warding off infections in the dusty Nile Valley. Practicality wrapped in pomp. Your lips are painted with red ochre, and a necklace of lapis lazuli, heavy as a yoke, settles around your neck. Each yevel, each cent, carries meaning, tying you to the gods Horus and Osiris. You're not just getting ready for the day, you're becoming the embodiment of Egypt's eternal power. But let's not get too starry-eyed about the glitz. A quirky tidbit: some pharaohs used sunscreen made from crocodile dung mixed with oils. Yep. You might be slathering on something that smells faintly of swamp to protect your divine glow. Historians still argue whether this was a widespread practice or just a bizarre elite fad. But it's a reminder that even gods on earth had to deal with the Nile's relentless rays. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished copper mirror, your reflection framed by the falcon-shaped crown of Horus. For a moment, you feel invincible. But the weight of that crown, both literal and figurative, grounds you. Ruling Egypt isn't just about looking the part, it's about surviving the expectations that come with it. You step into the palace's colonnaded courtyard, where songbirds flit among date palms and a tame baboon lounges in the shade, nibbling figs. Servants scatter rose petals at your feet, and you can't help but smirk, talk about over the top. But this is your world, where every gesture is magnified. You're served breakfast on a golden tray, fresh bread, honey-drizzled dates, and a goblet of pomegranate wine. The food's divine, but you eat sparingly. A pharaoh's body must remain pure, unburdened by excess. As you sip, your vizier, a wiry man with a perpetually furrowed brow, approaches with a papyrus scroll. He bows low, muttering about border disputes and grain shortages. You nod, half listening, already bracing for the day's demands. Your first task is to visit the palace shrine, a dimly lit chamber where statues of Ra, Osiris, and your deified ancestors loom. The air's thick with frankincense, and you kneel, offering a small alabaster jar of wine to the gods. Priests chant in low, hypnotic tones, their voices weaving spells to ensure Egypt's prosperity. This isn't optional. Your people believe your prayers keep the Nile flooding and the sun rising. One wrong move, and chaos could swallow the two lands. You sprinkle incense on a brazier, watching the smoke curl upward like a plea to the heavens. It's humbling, but also a bit absurd. Right, you're a god. Yet, you're begging other gods for backup. As you leave the shrine, you pass a group of scribes scribbling on papyrus, their reed pens scratching like tiny insects. They're recording your every deed for posterity. Because nothing says immortal like good PR. You catch a whiff of their ink, a mix of soot and gum, and it's oddly comforting, a reminder of the bureaucracy that keeps your empire humming. But don't get too cozy. The palace is a snake pit of ambition. Your half-brother, a minor prince with a too charming smile, lingers nearby, eyeing your throne. You make a mental note to keep him busy with some pointless diplomatic mission. Survival tip: never trust a sibling with a better beard. The morning stretches on, and you're swept into a whirlwind of duties. You inspect a new canal project, meant to boost irrigation in the delta. Workers bow as you pass, their faces caked with dust, and you toss them a few copper rings as a gesture of goodwill. They cheer, but you know it's fleeting. Loyalty in Egypt is as fickle as the Nile's floods. Back at the palace, you meet with foreign envoys, their accents thick and their gifts lavish leopard skins from Nubia, cedarwood from Byblos. You accept them with a nod, but your mind's already on the next ritual, the next decision. Being a pharaoh means never switching off. By noon, the heat is oppressive, and you retreat to a shaded pavilion. Servants fan you with ostrich plumes, and a harpist plays a soft melody, the notes drifting like a breeze. You close your eyes, just for a moment, and wonder what it'd be like to be ordinary to fish in the Nile without a dozen priests analyzing your bait choice. But that's not your fate. You're the living Horus, the bridge between earth and sky, and your people expect miracles. So, you square your shoulders, adjust your crown, and step back into the glare of divinity. The day's only half done, and Egypt waits for no one, not even a god. You stride from the palace shrine, the scent of incense still clinging to your linen kilt, and head toward the great temple of Amun-Ra, where your role as Egypt's living god takes center stage. The sun blazes overhead, baking the sandstone paths, and you feel the weight of your falcon crown, its gold warm against your shaved scalp. Crowds part like the Red Sea. Sorry, wrong story, as you approach the temple's towering pylons, carved with scenes of you smiting enemies. You're not just a king, you're the divine glue holding Egypt together. And today's rituals are about keeping the cosmos from unraveling. Better not trip on your sandals, because one misstep could mean famine, flood, or worse, angry gods tweeting their displeasure. Well, if they had X. That is, the temple courtyard buzzes with activity. Priests in white robes scurry like ants, carrying baskets of bread, jars of wine, and bundles of lotus flowers for offerings. You pause at the sacred lake, its surface mirroring the sky, and dip your hands in the cool water. A ritual cleansing before you enter the inner sanctum. The air grows heavy, thick with the musk of myrrh and the low hum of chants. Only you, the pharaoh, and the high priest are allowed past the gilded doors. where the statue of Amun-Ra waits, its eyes of lapis lazuli glinting in the flickering torchlight. You feel a shiver, not from cold, but from the weight of what's expected. You're here to renew the world. One prayer at a time, you kneel before the statue, its sienna face looming over you, and offer a golden bowl filled with honey and dates. The high priest, a wiry man with a shaved head and a voice like gravel, recites ancient spells from a papyrus scroll. May Ray's light shine eternal. May Mart balance the two lands. He intones, and you echo the words, your voice steady despite the pressure. This isn't just theatre. The Egyptians believed these rituals kept the sun rising and the Nile flooding. Historical records from the New Kingdom, around 1500 BCE, confirm pharaohs spent hours daily on such rites, ensuring cosmic harmony. Miss a step, and you're not just a bad king, you're a cosmic slacker. But here's a quirky twist. Some priests used magic wands, carved from hippopotamus ivory, to ward off evil spirits during these ceremonies. Imagine waving a glorified stick to shoo away demons, like swatting flies at a picnic. Historians still argue whether these wands were symbolic or believed to hold real power. But they're a reminder that even your divine duties come with a side of superstition. You sprinkle incense on a brazier, watching the smoke curl upward, and wonder if the gods are as picky as your courtiers about the brand of myrrh. Spoiler, they probably are. The ritual drags on, and your knees ache from kneeling on the stone floor. You offer more gifts: wine, a slaughtered bull, even a tiny statuette of yourself. Because nothing says humble like gifting the gods a mini you. The priests chant louder, their voices rising to a crescendo, and you feel the weight of Egypt on your shoulders. You're not just praying for yourself, you're praying for the farmers in the Delta, the merchants in Memphis, the soldiers on the Nubian border. One wrong word, one botched offering, and the gods might turn their backs. No pressure. Right, you smirk to yourself, imagining a god sending you a divine memo. Pharaoh, though better. As you rise, the high priest bows low, his nose practically kissing the floor. You nod, keeping your face stern, but inside, you're tempted to roll your eyes. This God-King gig is exhausting, and it's barely past noon. You step back into the courtyard, where the crowd erupts in cheers, their voices a wave of devotion. They see you as Horus incarnate, the falcon god who protects Egypt. You raise a hand, and the noise doubles. Talk about a rock star moment. But you know better than to bask too long. The temple's just the start of your day. Next, you head to a smaller shrine, dedicated to Osiris, god of the underworld, because apparently one deity's not enough to keep happy. Here, the vibe's darker, the air cooler, the walls painted with scenes of the afterlife. You offer a loaf of bread shaped like a lotus, symbolizing rebirth, and pour wine into a silver basin. The priests here are quieter, their eyes darting to you like you're a bomb that might go off. You get it. Your divine status makes everyone nervous. Even you're not sure where the line between pharaoh and god lies. It's like being stuck in a cosmic performance review with no clear job description. A weird detail pops up: some temples kept sacred crocodiles, fed daily with cakes and meat, believed to embody the god Sobek. You glance at the nearby pool, half expecting a scaly snout to surface, and hope nobody asks you to pet the thing. You're a god, sure, but wrestling crocs isn't in your contract. The priests murmur about Sobek's favor, and you nod, keeping your cool. Historians still debate whether these animals were pampered pets or sacrificial stand-ins, but you're just glad you don't have to clean the pool. The rituals wrap up, and you step into the sunlight, blinking as the heat hits you. Servants rush forward, with a linen canopy to shield you, and you're grateful for the shade. Your next stop is the palace, where your vizier's waiting with a stack of papyrus scrolls, reports, petitions, the usual chaos. But for a moment, you linger, gazing at the temple's massive columns. They're carved with your name, your victories, your divine titles. It's a rush, knowing your legacy's etched in stone, but also a reminder, screw up, and those same stones might be defaced by your enemies. You've heard stories of pharaohs erased from history, their names chiseled out like they never existed. Not you. You vow, not today. You turn toward the palace, your sandals kicking up dust, and a servant hands you a cup of cooled barley beer. You sip, savoring the bitter tang, and let out a quiet chuckle. Divine or not, you're still human enough to appreciate a cold drink. The crowd's cheers fade as you walk, but the weight of their expectations doesn't. You're the living Horus, the son of Ra, the keeper of Ma'at. Every ritual, every offering, every step you take is a thread in the tapestry of Egypt's survival. And as you head back to the palace, you can't shake the feeling that the gods are watching, judging, waiting for you to prove you're worthy of the crown. You step back into the palace, the cool shade of its limestone halls, a welcome relief from the sun's relentless glare. But don't get too comfortable. Your court's a viper's nest, and you're about to wade into the thick of it. The air hums with whispered plots, sidelong glances, and the rustle of linen as courtiers bow low, their smiles as sharp as obsidian blades. You're the pharaoh, the living god. But even gods have to deal with politics. And this place is a maze of ambition, where one wrong move could land you in a sarcophagus sooner than planned. You adjust your heavy gold collar, feeling its weight like the eyes of your advisors, and brace for the scheming circus that is your royal court. The audience chamber is a spectacle, walls painted with scenes of you smiting foes, a golden throne flanked by lion statues, and a floor so polished you can see your reflection. Your vizier, a man with a face like a tax audit, stands ready with a stack of papyrus scrolls, each one a potential headache. Around him cluster your advisors' nobles, priests, generals, all eyeing each other like cats over a single fish. You settle onto your throne, the wood creaking under your weight, and signal for the first petitioner. A merchant from Memphis steps forward, babbling about trade routes disrupted by bandits. You nod, half listening, already scanning the room for hidden agendas. Everyone here wants something: power, gold, or just a chance to stab someone else in the back. Your great royal wife, Nefertari, or maybe it's another queen, depending on your dynasty, sits beside you. Her presence, both a comfort and a complication. She's not just your consort, she's a political player. Hair-sharp mind, hidden behind kohl-lined eyes. Historical records, like those from the 19th dynasty, show queens like Nefertari wielded real influence, negotiating treaties and advising on state matters. But she's got rivals, secondary wives, and concubines, each pushing their own sons as your heir. You catch a glimpse of one, Nofret, lingering near a pillar, her smile too sweet to trust. You make a mental note to keep her busy with temple duties. A scheming queen is worse than a sandstorm. Here's a quirky tidbit to lighten the mood. Some courtiers wore amulets shaped like tiny ankhs, believing they'd protect them from your divine wrath. Imagine a noble clutching a charm, like it's a shield against your bad mood. Cute, but useless. Historians still argue whether these trinkets were genuine superstition or just court fashion. But they're a reminder that even your closest allies fear you as much as they need you. You smirk, imagining one of these nobles fumbling their amulet during a heated debate. like dropping their phone mid-argument. The merchant finishes his plea, and you wave a hand, decreeing more guards for the trade routes. The room hums with approval. But you know it's a performance. Everyone's playing their part. Next up is a priest of Amun, his bald head gleaming as he drones about temple funding. You listen, but your eyes drift to your half-brother, lurking near the back. He's got that look again, the one that says he'd love to try on your crown. You lean toward your vizier and whisper, "Send him to Nubia, something tedious." Like counting goats. The vizier nods, hiding a grin. Keeping family at arm's length is Pharaoh 101. The court's a delicate dance, and you're the choreographer. Your advisors are split into factions. The priests want more land for their temples. The generals push for war to expand your borders. And the nobles just want to keep their estates fat with grain. You've got to balance them all. Or risk rebellion. Take Ramses II's court. For example, his 66-year reign was a masterclass in juggling egos. But even he faced plots. Like the harem conspiracy led by his wife T. You glance at Nefertari, wondering if she's got her own schemes brewing. Probably. Queens don't survive this long without a few tricks up their linen sleeves. A messenger bursts in, bunting, with news of a Hittite envoy arriving tomorrow. Great. Another diplomatic tightrope. You'll need to dazzle them with feasts and gifts, while subtly reminding them Egypt's not to be trifled with. You signal for a scribe to draft a welcoming speech, tossing in a line about your divine strength, got to keep up appearances. But as the scribe scribbles, you catch a noble whispering to a general, their eyes darting to you. You don't need divine powers to smell a plot. You lean back, feigning boredom, and murmur to your vizier. Find out what they're scheming. Or it's your head, Epalis, nodding. Gotta keep them on their toes. The day drags on. Petition after petition. Each one, a test of your patience. A farmer begs for tax relief after a bad harvest. You grant it, tossing in a few baskets of grain to keep him loyal. A governor from the Delta wants permission to build a new fort. You approve. But only if he funds half of it. Every decision is a chess move. And you're playing against a board full of grandmasters. You crack a joke to lighten the mood, saying, "If I hear one more complaint about locusts, I'm making them the royal mascot." The court laughs. But it's a nervous chuckle. They know you could make it happen. As the sun dips lower, you call for a break, retreating to a shaded garden where servants bring you cooled wine and figs. You stretch, feeling the ache in your shoulders from hours on that throne. The garden's quiet, save for the buzz of bees and the trickle of a fountain. But your mind's still in the audience chamber. You can't trust anyone, not your advisors, not your siblings, maybe not even your wife. It's lonely at the top. But hey, at least the figs are fresh. You pop one in your mouth, savoring the sweetness, and wonder how long you can keep this divine act together before someone slips a dagger between your ribs. You're back on your golden throne, the lion statues at your sides, glaring as if they know the weight of the double crown digging into your brow. The audience chamber hums with tension, the air thick with the scent of cedarwood and ambition. You're the pharaoh, the living god, wielding power, so absolute it could make the Nile run backward, if only you could trust the people around you. Every decree you issue, every nod you give, shapes Egypt's fate. But the shadow of rebellion and paranoia creeps closer with each passing hour. You grip the crook and flail crossed over your chest. Their weight, a reminder, you rule everything. But one wrong move, and it's game over. Better keep your wits sharper than a scorpion's sting. The room's a kaleidoscope of bowing courtiers, their linen robes rustling as they vie for your favor. Your vizier, ever, the nervous accountant type, hands you a papyrus scroll detailing a border skirmish with the Libyans. You scan it, your eyes narrowing. The generals want to march. The priests want offerings to appease the gods first. You're caught in the middle, balancing war and worship like a juggler with too many torches. Historical records, like those from the 18th dynasty, show pharaohs like Thutmose III crushed rebellions with ruthless campaigns. Expanding Egypt's reach, you're expected to do the same squash threats. Project strength, and look divine while doing it. No pressure. Right, you issue a decree, send a small force to the border. But hold off on a full campaign until the omens are read. The generals grumble, but they bow. You've learned the hard way that unchecked ambition breeds trouble. Take Amenhotep III. He ruled a golden age. But his court was riddled with spies, reporting whispers of dissent. You glance at a noble near the back, his eyes too sharp for comfort. Is he loyal? Or is he plotting with that sketchy cousin you sent to Nubia last week? You lean toward your vizier and murmur, "Watch him. I don't like his smirk." The vizier nods, his face paling. Good. Fear keeps them in line. Here's a quirky tidbit to break the tension. Some pharaohs kept pet lions, parading them like living symbols of their power. Imagine strolling into court with a 500-pound cat on a leash, purring 1 minute, eyeing a courtier's leg the next. Historians still argue whether these lions were tame companions or just propaganda tools. But you're tempted to get one, just to see who flinches first. You chuckle softly, picturing your half-brother tripping over his kilt in terror. Maybe a lion would keep the court honest. You mutter, and a nearby scribe looks up, startled, before scribbling faster. Oops. Better watch your jokes, those get recorded too. Your absolute power is Egypt's backbone, but it's also a lightning rod. You're the law, the judge, the divine arbiter of Ma'at. When a petitioner steps forward, a Delta governor begging for more grain to feed his starving workers, you listen, weighing his loyalty against the cost. You grant half his request, tossing in a temple donation to keep the priests happy. Balance is everything. But power like yours invites enemies. Every smile in this room hides a potential dagger. And you've heard whispers of plots, servants bribed, guards turned, even priests dabbling in curses. You wear an Ankh amulet. It's cool metal pressed against your chest, hoping it's enough to ward off dark magic. Superstitious, maybe, but better safe than mummified early. The day grinds on, and you're drowning in decisions. A trade deal with Byblos needs your seal. A temple in Karnak wants funding for a new obelisk. You approve both. But with strings attached, nothing's free. Not even for a god. You catch a courtier staring too long at Nefertari, and your jaw tightens. Is he plotting with her, or just dazzled by her beauty? You can't afford to wonder. You signal a guard, whispering, "Keep an eye on that one." Discreetly. The guard nods, his spear gleaming. You're not paranoid if they're actually out to get you. Right. You crack a dry smile, thinking, ruling. Egypt's like herding crocodiles. One snap, and your lunch. Your power's absolute. But it's a gilded cage. You can't trust your advisors, your family, or even the gods some days. The priests are pushing for more influence, claiming Amun, Ra's favor depends on it. You know they're angling for control of the granaries. You deflect, promising a festival instead. Crowds love a good party, and it buys you time. But the pressure's relentless. Every choice ripples outward, affecting farmers, soldiers, even the Hittites, waiting to test your borders. You're the sun around which Egypt orbits. But suns burn out if they're not careful. You sip from a goblet of date wine. Its sweetness, a brief escape, and steel yourself for the next petitioner. As the sun sinks, casting long shadows across the chamber, you feel the weight of it all: crown, throne, empire. You're untouchable, yet vulnerable, divine, yet human. You glance at a wall relief showing you slaying enemies, your arm raised in triumph. It's propaganda, I'm sure, but it's also a reminder: weakness isn't an option. You straighten, your voice firm as you dismiss the court for the evening. They bow, murmuring praises. But you know some are already plotting tomorrow's moves. You step off the throne, your sandals echoing in the now quiet hall, and head for your private quarters. For a moment, you're just a man craving a nap. But the crown's shadow follows you, whispering of enemies unseen. You slip into the private quarters of the palace, the heavy cedar doors closing behind you with a thud that echoes like a warning. The air here is cooler, scented with lotus and sandalwood, but the tension from the court clings to you like damp linen. You're the pharaoh, the living Horus. But now you're stepping into a different kind of battlefield, the royal harem, where love, power, and bloodlines tangle in ways that make court politics look like a friendly game of Senate. Tonight, you're expected to strengthen the dynasty by choosing a bride, or rather, confirming a union that's less about romance and more about divine DNA. You adjust your gold armlet, feeling its cold weight, and brace for the delicate dance of incestuous alliances that define Egypt's royal family. One wrong step, and you're not just breaking hearts, you're risking the gods' wrath. The harem is a labyrinth of opulent chambers, each draped in sheer fabrics that catch the torchlight like liquid gold. Your great royal wife, let's say Nefertari, waits in one room, her presence commanding even in silence. But there are others, sisters, half-sisters, even daughters, each a potential consort to keep the royal bloodline pure. This isn't some scandalous soap opera, it's a sacred duty. The Egyptians believed their pharaohs were descended from gods like Osiris and Isis, who were, inconveniently, siblings and spouses. By marrying within the family, you preserve that divine essence, ensuring your heirs are fit to rule as gods themselves. Historical records, like those from the 18th dynasty, that show this practice was common. Pharaohs like Akhenaten wed their sisters, and the Ptolemies took it to extremes, knotting their family tree into a pretzel of inbreeding. You pause at a doorway, catching Nefertari's eye. She's stunning, her kohl-lined gaze sharp enough to cut through palace intrigue. You married her, your half-sister, to solidify your claim and keep the bloodline sacred. But it's not all divine duty. There's genuine affection there, or at least mutual respect. You share a brief smile, but you both know the stakes. Her son, your heir, is the key to the dynasty's future. But other wives are circling, each pushing their own children. You think of Isotnofret, a secondary wife, whose ambition burns brighter than a desert noon. She's already hinted her son should be crown prince. You chuckle dryly, muttering, if only thrones came with a no-drama clause. A servant overhears, eyes widening, and you wave her off. Servants gossip faster than scribes write. Here's a quirky tidbit to lighten the mood: some royal brides wore wigs made from the hair of captured enemies. A creepy flex of power. Imagine Nefertari rocking a hairstyle woven from Nubian prisoners' locks, each strand a trophy. Historians still argue whether these wigs were common or just a weird status symbol. But you're glad you don't have to deal with that particular fashion trend. You touch your own shaved head, grateful for the simplicity of your falcon crown, though its weight is starting to give you a headache. Divine blood or not, you're still human enough to feel the strain. The cost of these incestuous unions isn't just political, it's personal and biological. Inbreeding brought genetic issues that plagued royal families. Take Tutankhamun, a product of sibling marriage. His mummy shows a clubbed foot, a cleft palate, and a spine curved like a question mark. You glance at a young princess, your daughter, playing with a carved ivory toy in a nearby chamber. The thought of marrying her one day to secure the dynasty twists your stomach. It's tradition, sure, but it feels like a deal with a particularly cranky god. You push the thought aside, focusing on Nefertari. She's your partner in this divine game. But even she's not above scheming to keep her son first in line. You move deeper into the harem, passing rooms where concubines, foreign princesses sent to seal alliances, lounge on cushions. Their laughter, soft but calculated. They're not just here for your pleasure, they're diplomatic chess pieces, each hoping to birth a prince and gain influence. You nod politely, but your mind's on the bigger picture, the succession. Your half-brother's still out there, probably dreaming of your throne, and you've heard whispers of a cousin plotting with the priests. You crack a joke to ease the tension, murmuring to a guard, "If my family tree gets any tighter, it'll strangle itself." He stifles a laugh, but you see the unease in his eyes. Even he knows the harem's a powder keg. The pressure to produce a male heir is relentless. You're expected to father dozens of children. Ramses II had over 100, a record you're not eager to beat. Every union, every child, is a political act, a way to cement alliances or squash rivals. But the gods don't always cooperate. Miscarriages and early deaths were common, and the royal nursery could be a grim place. You think of Akhenaten, who married his daughter Ankhesenamun, only to lose their children young. The gods' favor isn't guaranteed. No matter how pure the bloodline, you touch an Ankh amulet, whispering a quick prayer for healthy heirs. Superstition maybe, but you're not taking chances. As night falls, the harem grows quiet. The only sounds the rustle of linen and the distant strum of a harp. You sit with Nefertari, sharing a goblet of date wine, the sweetness cutting through the day's stress. She talks of her son's education, her voice calm but laced with steel. She's plotting his path to the throne, as carefully as a general plans a campaign. You admire her, but you're wary. Even love in the royal family comes with strings. You lean back, the wine warming your chest, and think, being a god is great, until your family reminds you you're mortal. The night stretches on, and you know tomorrow's court will bring more schemes, more rivals, more reasons to watch your back. You stand at the edge of a bustling quarry, the sun scorching your shoulders as you survey a chaos of dust and sweat, where thousands of workers chip away at limestone blocks destined for your eternal monument. The air crackles with the clink of copper chisels and the shouts of overseers, and you feel the weight of your falcon crown, a reminder that you're not just building a tomb, you're crafting immortality itself. As Pharaoh, your legacy isn't just in ruling Egypt, it's in the colossal structures that will carry your name beyond death. You're pouring your empire's wealth and manpower into a pyramid that will pierce the heavens, a defiant middle finger to time itself. But let's be real, stacking 2 million stones isn't exactly a weekend project. And the cost in lives and labor might just haunt your divine dreams. The Giza Plateau stretches before you, its golden sands shimmering under Ra's gaze. You're channeling the spirit of Khufu, whose Great Pyramid, built around 2550 BCE, still stands as the ultimate flex of pharaonic ambition. Historical records estimate it took 20,000 workers and up to 27 years to complete, using over 2-3 million limestone blocks, each weighing as much as a small chariot. You watch as workers haul a massive stone up a ramp, their muscles straining under the weight. Sledges, lubricated with water, to ease the slide. You toss a copper ring to a nearby laborer, who bows low, his face caked with dust. Keep up the pace, you say. But inside, to you wince, immortality's price tag is steep. And you're not the one paying it in sweat. Your architect, a wiry man named Hemiunu, approaches with a papyrus blueprint, pointing out the pyramid's precise alignment with the stars. It's not just a tomb, it's a cosmic staircase, designed to launch your soul to the gods. The sloping sides mimic the primordial mound of creation, and shafts inside point to Orion and Sirius, homes of Osiris and Isis. You nod, impressed, but your mind drifts to the workers' cemetery nearby, where broken bones and worn joints tell a grim story. These men aren't slaves. Many are farmers working during the Nile's flood season, but the toll is brutal. You mutter, hope the gods appreciate overtime, and Hemiunu looks confused. You wave it off, divine humors lost on mortals. Here's a quirky tidbit to lighten the dust-choked air. Some workers carved graffiti into the stones. Cheeky notes like, the drunkards of Menkaure or Khufu's pals. Imagine ancient construction crews trash-talking their bosses in hieroglyphs. Historians still argue whether these were acts of rebellion or just bored banter. But it's a reminder that even your grandest projects rely on ordinary hands. You spot a worker etching something into a block and squint. Probably not a love letter to you. You chuckle, thinking, if me pyramids got nicknames, it better be Khufu's masterpiece, not Khufu's folly. Your ambition isn't just about size, it's about eternity. Every block, every angle, is a spell to secure your place among the gods. You inspect a polished casing stone, its surface gleaming like Ra's own light, and imagine it reflecting the sun for centuries. But the cost gnaws at you. The treasury's bleeding gold, grain, and copper to feed and pay the workers. Entire forests in Byblos are being felled for scaffolding. You've heard whispers of unrest, nobles grumbling about taxes, priests muttering that the gods don't need another pyramid. You silence them with a glare. But doubt creeps in. Is this monument your glory? Or your obsession? You push the thought away, focusing on the ramp rising before you like a promise. The workers chant as they haul another block, their rhythm hypnotic, like a pulse tying you to the earth. You climb a wooden platform to get a better view. The plateau sprawling below. Two smaller pyramids. For your queens, flank your own. And you imagine your family entombed together, a divine dynasty preserved in stone. But eternity's not cheap. You've diverted grain from the delta to feed the crews. And famine's a real risk if the Nile's floods fail. You touch an Ankh amulet, praying for Ma'at to balance the scales. Immortality's worth it, you tell yourself. But the words feel heavy, like the stones your workers drag. You turn to Hemiunu, asking about progress. He points to a half-finished ramp, explaining how levers and pulleys make the impossible possible. You're impressed, but also uneasy. Engineering. This grand takes lives. Skeletal remains from Giza's worker cemeteries show arthritis and fractures, proof of the human cost. You toss another ring to a passing laborer, hoping it buys loyalty. Not just labor. Make it perfect. You say, your voice firm. Perfection's non-negotiable when your soul's on the line. You crack a joke to ease the tension. If this pyramid's crooked, I'm haunting you all. The workers laugh, but their eyes stay wary. Nobody wants to anger a god. As the sun dips, casting long shadows across the quarry, you feel a mix of pride and dread. Your pyramid's rising, a testament to your power, but it's also a gamble. Will it stand forever? Or will tomb robbers gut it before your mummy's cold? You think of past pharaohs, their monuments defaced, their names erased. Not you. You vow you'll build bigger, stronger, a tomb to defy time itself. You step down from the platform, dust clinging to your sandals, and head back to the palace. The workers' chants fade, but their labor echoes in your mind, a reminder that your immortality rests on their mortal backs. You walk through the Valley of the Kings, the air dry and still, as you approach a tomb carved deep into the cliffs, its entrance sealed with a limestone slab painted with your cartouche. The sun's heat presses against your back, but a darker unease chills you. This isn't just a resting place, it's a gateway to eternity, and you're ensuring it's stocked for your afterlife with treasures, offerings, and something far more unsettling: human lives. As Pharaoh, your divine status demands that your loyal servants follow you into death, a ritual sacrifice to serve you in the fields of the afterlife. You adjust your linen kilt, the weight of your gold collar heavy, and brace for the grim reality of retainer burials. It's not just your legacy at stake, it's a chilling tradition that makes you wonder if divinity comes with too high a body count. The tomb's entrance is a hive of activity. Priests chant hymns to Osiris, their voices echoing off the rock, while workers carry in jars of wine, golden furniture, and baskets of bread for your eternal feast. You pause at the threshold, torchlight flickering on walls painted with scenes of you navigating the underworld, guided by Anubis. This isn't just a grave, it's a stage for your soul's rebirth, a sacred space where you'll reign as a god forever. But to make it work, you need your entourage servants, guards, even pets to join you. Historical evidence from the First Dynasty, around 3000 BCE, reveals pharaohs like Jer were buried with hundreds of retainers, their bodies arranged in neat rows, sacrificed to serve in the afterlife. You swallow hard, knowing you're part of this tradition. A priest approaches, his face grim, leading a group of attendants, your most trusted household staff, dressed in fine linen, their eyes downcast but resolute. They've served you in life, from pouring your wine to guarding your palace, and now they've been chosen for the ultimate honor to serve you in death. You nod, giving the ritual approval, but your chest tightens. These are people you've known for years, the baker who always sneaked you extra honey cakes, the guard who once saved you from a stray arrow. You mutter, "Hope the afterlife's got a good HR department," trying to lighten the moment. But the priest's silence is heavier than the tomb's stone door. You catch a servant's eye, and she offers a faint smile, as if reassuring you. It doesn't help. Here's a quirky tidbit to cut the tension. Some tombs included mummified pets, like King Hor, Aha's burial with 10 donkeys, believed to carry his goods in the afterlife. Imagine a ghostly caravan of donkeys trotting through eternity, hauling your favorite chariot. Historians still argue whether these animals were cherished companions or just practical additions. But you're oddly comforted by the thought of your pet cat, mummified and curled up in your tomb. You glance at a nearby basket, where a tiny wrapped bundle your favorite hunting dog waits to be placed inside. At least he won't have to deal with palace politics. You think, cracking a wry smile. The ritual begins. The priests burn incense, its acrid smoke curling upward, and recite spells from the Book of the Dead, guiding the retainers' souls to the afterlife. You stand silent, watching as the chosen ones drink from a ceremonial cup, likely laced with a sedative or poison. Archaeological evidence suggests strangulation or blunt force was common. But you've opted for something less brutal. Their bodies slump gently, and priests arrange them in the tomb's outer chambers, their faces peaceful, as if asleep. You feel a pang, knowing they believed this was their duty, a privilege even. But it's hard to shake the thought that your immortality demands their mortality. You touch an ankh amulet, whispering a prayer for their souls, hoping Osiris judges them kindly. The scale of these sacrifices is staggering. Jer's tomb at Abydos held 318 retainers, men and women, some as young as children, buried in neat rows like a macabre honor guard. You've scaled back maybe a dozen loyal servants, but it's still a heavy burden. You think of the families left behind, their grief, a silent cost of your divine status. The priests assure you it's necessary, that the gods expect a pharaoh's court to mirror his earthly one. But you wonder if the gods are as bloodthirsty as the priests claim. You crack a dark joke, murmuring to a guard, "If I need this many servants in the afterlife, I'm firing my cosmic butler." He stiffens, unsure if you're serious. You wave it off, humor's your only shield right now. As the tomb is sealed, workers roll a massive stone across the entrance, its grind echoing like a final heartbeat. You step back, the valley's silence pressing in. The retainer's sacrifice is a grim reminder of your power. You command life and death, even beyond the grave. But it's also a warning your divine status isolates you, setting you apart from the very people you rule. You think of later pharaohs, like those in the New Kingdom, who abandoned human sacrifice for shabti figurines, tiny statues meant to work in the afterlife. Maybe they were onto something. You muse. But for now, you're bound by tradition, a chain as heavy as your gold. You turn away, the sun sinking behind the cliffs, casting long shadows across the valley. The tomb's sealed, but your work isn't done. You'll return to the palace, where more decisions, more rituals await. The weight of those sacrifices lingers, a shadow you can't shake. You're a god, sure, but gods don't get to feel guilt. Do they? You glance at the stars emerging above, wondering if your retainers are already there, waiting in the field of reeds. For now, you walk on, the dust of the valley clinging to your sandals. Each step, a reminder that even immortality comes at a price. You limp through the palace at Thebes, your cane tapping the polished limestone floor, the weight of your frail body, a constant reminder that you're no ordinary pharaoh. You're Tutankhamun, the boy king, thrust onto the throne at 9 years old, burdened by a cursed lineage and a kingdom in chaos. The air is heavy with incense, but it can't mask the tension. Your advisors hover like vultures, their whispers sharp as papyrus edges. You're barely a teenager, yet you're expected to restore Egypt's glory after your father Akhenaten's heretical reign nearly tore it apart. Your clubbed foot aches, your chest tightens with every breath, and you know the gods haven't given you long. Better make your mark before your tomb becomes your legacy, and trust me, that tomb's going to be a showstopper. The throne room is a dazzling cage, its walls painted with scenes of you offering to Amun-Ra, a god your father spurned. You settle onto the golden throne, its cushions doing little to ease your aching spine. Your vizier, a man with eyes like a crocodile's, reads from a scroll, "Temples must be reopened, priests reinstated, the old order restored." You nod, your voice soft but firm, decreeing funds for Karnak's repairs. Historical records from the 18th dynasty, around 1332 BCE, confirm Tutankhamun's role in reversing Akhenaten's monotheistic experiment, bringing back the worship of Amun and stabilizing Egypt. But you're a puppet, aren't you? I and General Horemheb pull the strings, and you're too young, too weak, to fight them. Your queen, Ankhisnamun, sits beside you, her hand brushing yours. She's your half-sister, another product of your family's tangled, incestuous bloodline. and her sad eyes mirror your own. You love her, but marriage at 12, with children lost to stillbirth, has left you both scarred. You think of your father, Akhenaten, and his sun disk obsession, leaving you this mess. Your body's a wreck, CT scans of your mummy, studied in the 21st century, reveal a cleft palate, scoliosis, and a broken leg that might have killed you at 19. You shift, wincing, and mutter, "If I'm a god, the gods need better healthcare." Tutankhamun squeezes your hand, hiding a smile. She's your anchor in this storm. Here's a quirky tidbit to lift the gloom. Your tomb included a tiny iron dagger, likely made from a meteorite. A cosmic gift for a boy king. Imagine wielding a blade from the stars. Like some ancient superhero. Historians still argue whether it was a practical weapon or a symbolic treasure. But you like to think it's the god's apology for your rough deal. You glance at a guard's bronze spear, wishing you had that dagger now, not for fighting, but for the comfort of something otherworldly in this all-too-mortal life. Your reign's a tightrope walk. The priests of Amun, fat with new power, demand more gold. The nobles want stability. The Hittites test your borders. You're too young to lead armies. So Horemheb handles that, his reports laced with barely veiled disdain. You decree a festival to honor Amun, hoping to win the people's love. Crowds cheer louder for bread and beer than for gods. You think of Akhenaten's city, Akhetaten, now crumbling in the desert. A warning of what happens when a pharaoh defies tradition. You're determined to be different, to be remembered as the restorer, not the destroyer. But your body betrays you. Fevers come often, and you've seen the priest's worried glances. You visit a temple under construction, leaning on your cane as workers bow low. You toss them copper rings, a gesture of goodwill, but their eyes linger on your limp. You hate their pity. You decree a new statue of Amun, hoping it'll outlast you. Back at the palace, eye drones about grain supplies, but you're distracted, thinking of your tomb in the Valley of the Kings. It's small fitting for a short reign, but you've ordered it packed with treasures, golden chariots, a death mask that'll make Ra jealous. You crack a joke to Ankhesenamun, whispering, "If I'd a young, at least my tomb's got better decor than I's house." She laughs, but her eyes are wet. The shadow of death looms closer. You've heard whispers, eyeing the throne. Horemheb's soldiers too loyal to him. Some scholars speculate you were murdered, maybe poisoned or struck down, though your broken leg and malaria are more likely culprits. You don't know what's coming, but you feel it, like a chill in the desert night. You commission a stela, proclaiming your devotion to Amun, hoping it'll cement your legacy. You're not just fighting for Egypt, you're fighting for a name that won't be erased. Like your father's was, you touch an Ankh amulet, praying for strength, but your hand trembles. As night falls, you sit with Ankhesenamun in a garden, the Nile's murmur soothing your frayed nerves. You share a goblet of pomegranate wine, its tartness a brief escape. She talks of a future. You both know you won't see children. Peace. A long reign. You play along, but your heart aches. You're a god, but gods don't die young, do they? You lean back, staring at the stars, wondering if Osiris will welcome you. Your tomb's waiting, a golden vault to carry you to eternity. But for now, you're just a boy, fragile and afraid, clinging to the fleeting warmth of your queen's hand. You stride through the bustling streets of Ramses, your capital city, its mud-brick palaces and towering statues gleaming under the delta sun, as you embody the larger-than-life presence of Ramses II. The Great, The air hums with the clatter of chariots and the chants of priests. And you feel the weight of your double crown. It's golden lapis lazuli, a badge of your 66-year reign. You're not just a pharaoh, you're a legend in the making. Building an empire so vast, and monuments so grand, they'll echo your name for millennia. Every step you take is a statement, Egypt is mighty. And you're its beating heart. But don't get too cocky. Immortality's a marathon. And even gods have to watch for tripping hazards like rival kings or jealous courtiers. The city pulses with your ambition. Ramses, built from scratch in the Nile Delta, is your masterpiece a hub of trade, diplomacy, and military might. You pass a colossal statue of yourself, 80 feet tall, its granite face staring down with your trademark smirk. Historical records from the 19th dynasty, around 1279 BCE, confirm you oversaw Egypt's golden age, expanding into Nubia and signing the world's first recorded peace treaty with the Hittites after the Battle of Kadesh. You stop to inspect a new temple, its walls carved with scenes of you smiting enemies. You toss a copper ring to a worker, who bows low, and mutter, "Make sure my nose looks good." He nods, terrified, and you grin. Divine ego comes with the job. Your reign's a balancing act of war and worship. You lead a council in a shaded hall, generals reporting on Nubian skirmishes, while priests demand more gold for Amun's temple. You approve both, but with a catch tax the nobles to fund it. They'll grumble. But you've got 100+ children to back your dynasty, so let them try to rebel. Your great royal wife, Nefertari, sits nearby, her presence a quiet power. She's your rock. Her tomb at Abu Simbel, a testament to your devotion. But other wives, like Izzet Nofret, eye her jealously, their sons vying for your throne. You lean toward Nefertari, whispering, "If they keep scheming, I'll build a statue of you bigger than mine." She smirks, knowing you mean it. Here's a quirky tidbit to keep things light. You once sent a shipment of Nile water to the Hittite king, claiming it was a sacred gift. Imagine their faces when they got barrels of muddy river juice. Historians still argue whether this was a diplomatic flex or just you trolling your rivals. But you like to think it was both. You chuckle, imagining the Hittite king sniffing the water like a confused sommelier. Divine or not, I've got a sense of humor. You murmur, and a scribe glances up, unsure if he should write that down. Better not eternity. Doesn't need your dad jokes. Your building projects are relentless. Abu Simbel's twin temples, carved into a cliff, dwarf everything else. They're massive statues of you and Nefertari, a love letter to the gods and a warning to enemies. You inspect a new obelisk, hieroglyph, praising your victories. The workers cheer. But you know the cost. Thousands laboring under the sun. Their lives spent on your glory. Skeletal remains from your era show the toll, broken bones, worn joints. You toss more copper rings. A small gesture. But guilt nags at you. Immortality's pricey. And you're not the one hauling stones. You crack a joke to shake your mood, saying to a foreman, "If this obelisk falls, I'm blaming you in the afterlife." He laughs nervously, probably picturing your ghost with a clipboard. Your military triumphs are just as grand. Kadesh was a close call. Your army nearly ambushed, but you spun it into a propaganda win, carving epic reliefs of your victory on every temple. You review troops in the palace courtyard, their bronze spears glinting, and feel a surge of pride. Egypt's borders stretch farther than ever, from Nubia to the Levant. But peace is fragile. The Hittite treaty keeps things stable. But you know rivals are watching, waiting for weakness. You touch a scarab amulet, praying for strength. And think of your tomb in the Valley of the Kings. Already under construction, it'll be packed with gold, chariots, even your pet lion, mummified to guard you forever. As the sun dips, you host a banquet, the hall filled with laughter, harp, music, and the clink of goblets. Foreign envoys offer tribute, cedarwood, ivory, and you dazzle them with Egypt's wealth. Nefertari charms them effortlessly, but you catch a noble whispering to a general. Their eyes on you. Another plot. You signal a guard to watch them, muttering, "If they want my throne, they'll need more than sneaky looks." The court laughs at your toast, but the tension's there, like a snake under the table. You're Ramses the Great, but even greatness has enemies. Night falls, and you retreat to your chambers. The Niles murmur outside a soft lullaby. Nefertari joins you, her hand warm in yours. You've built an empire, but it's her you'll immortalize beside you, your legacy secure temple. Statues, a treaty that'll outlast you. But as you close your eyes, you wonder if eternity's worth the lives it cost. For now, you're the greatest pharaoh Egypt's known. And that's enough. You drift off, the stars above whispering your name. A god-king whose glory will shine forever, or so you hope. You glide through the opulent halls of Alexandria's royal palace, your silk robes whispering against the marble floor, embodying the cunning and charisma of Cleopatra VII, Egypt's last pharaoh. The air hums with the scent of jasmine and the murmur of Greek and Egyptian voices, a cosmopolitan blend that defines your Ptolemaic world. You're not just a queen, you're a master strategist, wielding wit and seduction to keep Rome's wolves at bay while holding your throne in a crumbling empire. The weight of your golden diadem is light compared to the stake's one misstep. And Egypt falls. You flash a smile that could charm a cobra. But inside, you're calculating every move like a Senate game with your crown as the prize. The palace buzzes with activity envoys from Rome, merchants from Nubia, scholars from the Great Library. You settle onto a throne, inlaid with ivory, flanked by statues of Isis and Serapis. A nod to your dual Greek-Egyptian heritage. Your advisors, a mix of Greek philosophers and Egyptian priests, report on grain shortages and Roman troop movements. Historical records from 30 BCE confirm Cleopatra's brilliance. She spoke 9 languages, negotiated with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, and kept Egypt independent longer than seemed possible. You lean forward, decreeing a new trade deal with Cyprus. Your voice smooth, but firm. Rome's shadow looms. But you'll outsmart them yet. Or so you hope. Your charm is your sharpest weapon. You host a banquet tonight, dazzling Mark Antony with wit and wine, your laughter drawing him closer. You've already won Caesar's heart and his armies before his death. And now Antony's your ally. Maybe more. You think of your son, Caesarion, your link to Caesar's legacy, and vow to secure his throne. But your siblings Arsinoe for one aren't so cooperative. You've heard whispers of her plotting in Ephesus, and you've already taken steps to neutralize her. Ruthless, sure, but survival demands it. You murmur to a servant, "If Arsinoe sends another envoy, serve them bad wine." He nods, hiding a smirk. Gotta keep the court on its toes. Here's a quirky tidbit. To lighten the mood, you once dissolved a pearl in vinegar and drank it to impress Antony. A stunt to prove Egypt's wealth. Imagine chugging a gemstone smoothie just to flex talk about commitment. Historians still argue whether this was a real event or Roman propaganda to paint you as extravagant. But you like the story's flair. You catch your reflection in a polished silver tray, your kohl-lined eyes sharp, and think, pearl or not. I'm the real treasure here. You chuckle, and a nearby scribe glances up, probably wondering if he should record your quip for posterity. Your diplomacy is a high-stakes dance. Rome's Octavian, cold and calculating, watches you from afar. Ready to pounce, you send gifts: gold, incense, even a gilded barge to keep him placated. But you know he's no Antony. You meet with your generals, plotting to bolster Egypt's navy, and charm a Roman envoy with a poem you wrote in Greek. Your education, honed at the Library of Alexandria, is your edge. You debate philosophy with scholars and theology with priests, blending cultures to keep everyone loyal. But loyalty's slippery. Your court's a mix of Greek nobles and Egyptian elites, each with their own agendas. You spot a treasurer, whispering to a priest, and make a mental note to audit his accounts. Trust is a luxury you can't afford. Your personal life's no less complicated. Antony's your lover, but also your shield against Rome. You've borne him 3 children, and each strengthens your alliance. But Egypt's priests grumble, wanting a pharaoh who honors Amun over Serapis. You balance both, commissioning a temple to Isis while hosting Greek festivals. You think of your Ptolemaic ancestors, like Berenice II, who vowed her hair to Aphrodite for her husband's safe return. You touch your own braided wig, wondering if you'd sacrifice it for Antony. Probably not, hair's too good. You crack a joke to a guard. If I lose this crown, at least my hair's still royal. He laughs nervously, unsure if you're joking or plotting. The day wears on, and you retire to a balcony overlooking the Mediterranean, its waves glinting under the sun. Alexandria's lighthouse, the Pharaohs, looms in the distance, a 330-foot marvel guiding ships to your city. You've made Alexandria a beacon of culture, but Rome's closing in. Octavian's propaganda paints you as a seductress, a threat to Roman virtue. You scoff, muttering, "If they think I'm dangerous now, wait till I negotiate." But fear gnaws at you. Caesarion's future, Egypt's independence, your own survival. You think of your tomb, already planned, filled with treasures to rival Tutankhamun's. You're Cleopatra, and you'll fight to the last breath, even if it's with an asp. As night falls, you sip wine with Antony, the city's lights sparkling below. You're a queen, a mother, a goddess, but also a woman staring down a collapsing world. You lean into Antony, your voice soft but steel-edged, planning your next move. Egypt's yours, for now, but Rome's shadow grows longer. You're playing for eternity, not just a throne, and you'll charm, shame, or fight to keep it. The stars above whisper of battles to come, and you brace yourself, knowing your legend will outlast even defeat. You stand in a dimly lit chamber, deep within the temple complex, the air thick with the sharp tang of natron and myrrh, as you oversee the sacred rites that will transform your mortal body into an eternal vessel for your divine soul. The stone walls, etched with spells from the Book of the Dead, seem to pulse with ancient magic, and you feel the weight of your linen kilt, heavy with gold thread. As you watch the embalmers work, you're the pharaoh, preparing for the inevitable, ensuring your mummy will carry you to the field of reeds, where you'll feast with the gods forever. But let's not sugarcoat it. This process is a grisly marathon, and even a god king might flinch at the thought of having their brain hooked out through their nose. You take a deep breath, steadying yourself, and brace for the macabre dance of mummification. The chamber is a hive of quiet precision. Embalmers, their hands steady as stone, move around a wooden table where a body yours, in some future moment, awaits its transformation. They're priests of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, and their work is as much ritual as science. Historical records from the New Kingdom, around 1500 BCE, detail the mummification process, a 70-day ordeal that preserved pharaohs like Ramses II for eternity. First, they remove the internal organs: liver, lungs, stomach, intestines, placing them in canopic jars, topped with the heads of the 4 sons of Horus. You watch as they slice the abdomen with an obsidian blade, the sound sharp in the silence, and you mutter, "Hope they're gentler when it's my turn." A nearby priest glances up, his eyes unreadable, and you smirk, divine or not. You're allowed a little gallows humor. The brain's next, and it's not pretty. An embalmer inserts a long bronze hook through the nostril, breaking the cranial bones to pull out the brain bit by bit. You wince, imagining the sensation, and think, "At least I'll be dead for that part." The cavity's rinsed with palm wine, its sweet tang cutting through the natron's bite. The body's then packed with natron salt, which dries it out over 40 days, turning flesh to leather. You've seen mummies, Tutankhamun's, for instance, preserved so well, his face still holds a boyish softness. You touch an ankh amulet, praying your own mummy will look as good. The embalmers work with reverence, chanting spells to protect your car, the spiritual essence that'll roam the afterlife. It's a comfort, but also a reminder eternity's only guaranteed if they get this right. Here's a quirky tidbit to ease the grim vibe. Some embalmers stuffed mummies with sawdust or linen to keep their shape, like ancient taxidermy. Imagine your royal self puffed up like a pillow, hardly divine. Historians still argue whether this was standard or reserved for budget burials. But you're glad your embalmers are top tier, using only the finest resins. You crack a joke, whispering to a priest, "If they stuff me with straw, I'm haunting the workshop." He stiffens, unsure if you're serious, and you wave it off. Humor's your shield against the creeping dread of what lies beyond. Once dried, the body's anointed with sacred oils: myrrh, frankincense, cedar, its scent filling the chamber like a divine perfume. The embalmers wrap it in hundreds of yards of linen, each layer sealed with resin, tucking amulets between the folds, scarabs for rebirth, ankhs for life. You watch them place a heart scarab, inscribed with a spell to silence your heart's sins before Osiris's judgment. It's a heavy thought, your heart weighed against Ma'at's feather, your fate hanging in the balance. You've ruled justly, or so you hope. But even gods worry about the fine print. You think of Ramses II, his mummy still regal after 0 years, and vow yours will be just as splendid. No second-rate bandages. You murmur, and a scribe nearby scribbles, probably thinking it's a decree. The final touch is the mask gold, inlaid with lapis and quartz, crafted to capture your divine likeness. You imagine your own face, serene and eternal, staring out from the sarcophagus. Tutankhamun's mask, found in 1922, weighs 22 pounds of solid gold, a dazzling symbol of immortality. Yours will be no less grand, a beacon for your soul to find its way back. The embalmers place the body in nested coffins, each carved with gods and spells, then seal it in a granite sarcophagus. You nod approval, but your mind drifts to the tomb itself, deep in the Valley of the Kings, packed with treasures, chariots, thrones, even your favorite harp. You want the afterlife to feel like home, minus the court intrigue. The ritual ends with a final chant. The priest's voice is low and hypnotic, sending your soul toward the gods. You step outside, the desert air sharp after the chamber's closeness, and feel a mix of awe and unease. Mummification's a masterpiece of art and faith, but it's also a stark reminder you're mortal. Despite the hype, you think of the workers who'll build your tomb, the embalmers who'll preserve you, the priests who'll guard your name. Their lives, their labor, all serve your eternity. You crack a final joke, muttering to a guard, "If my mummy's not Instagram worthy, I'm coming back." He blinks, confused, and you laugh, heading back to the palace, the weight of forever lingering like dust on your sandals. You stand at the mouth of your tomb in the Valley of the Kings, the desert cliffs looming like silent sentinels, as you oversee the final preparations to secure your eternal resting place against the greed of tomb robbers. The air is dry, heavy with the scent of dust and resin, and your gold-trimmed kilt feels stifling under the midday sun. You're the pharaoh, a living god. But even gods can't trust the living to respect their graves. Your tomb is a fortress of stone, packed with treasures to carry you into the afterlife. But you know thieves are already plotting to plunder it. You grip your crook, its weight grounding you, and brace for the grim task of outsmarting time itself. One wrong move, and your legacy could be stripped bare before you're cold. Talk about a divine security nightmare. Workers bustle around the tomb's entrance, hauling in gilded chariots, alabaster jars, and a throne inlaid with ebony. The passage descends deep into the rock, its walls painted with scenes of you battling chaos serpents, guided by Anubis. You've ordered traps, false chambers, hidden pits to deter robbers. But you're not naive. Historical records show that by the New Kingdom, around 1100 BCE, tomb robbing was a rampant industry, with even priests sometimes looting sacred graves. Tutankhamun's tomb, discovered intact in 1922, was a rare exception. Most, like Ramses II's, were gutted within centuries. You inspect a massive stone door, its seals inscribed with curses. Death will come on swift wings to those who disturb the king's rest. You mutter, hope that scares them more than my tax collectors. A nearby scribe blinks, unsure if you're joking. The tomb's a marvel, but it's also a gamble. You've hidden it in a narrow valley, far from the flashy pyramids of old, hoping obscurity will protect it. Inside, chambers brim with treasures, golden shrines, jeweled amulets, even a mummified pet cat to keep you company. You've banned human sacrifices. Those went out with the Old Kingdom, but you've packed in shabti figurines, tiny statues to serve you in the afterlife. You touch one, its faience cool under your fingers, and pray they'll do the job. The workers seal a side chamber, and you catch a glimpse of your sarcophagus, its granite gleaming like a promise of eternity. But promises break. Thieves have cracked tougher tombs than yours. Here's a quirky tidbit to lighten the mood. Some tombs included cursed objects, like figurines rigged to fall on intruders. Early booby traps. Imagine a thief dodging a stone scarab like it's an Indiana Jones movie. Historians still argue whether these were practical defenses or just psychological scare tactics. But you like the idea of a trap that makes robbers rethink their career choices. You chuckle, whispering to a guard, "If my tomb's looted, I'm haunting them with bad luck forever." He nods, eyes wide, probably picturing your ghost with a vengeance. You don't believe in curses, but a little fear can't hurt. Right, you walk the tomb's corridors, torchlight flickering on hieroglyphs spelling out your deeds. The air's cool, almost suffocating, and you feel a pang of claustrophobia. This is your eternity, a dark maze of stone. You've ordered secret passages, false walls, even a decoy burial chamber to fool thieves. But you've heard stories, tombs of great pharaohs like Seti I, ransacked, their mummies tossed aside. You think of the priests who'll guard your tomb, their loyalty bought with gold and threats. You've even spread rumors of a curse, hoping it'll deter the bold. May their sandals rot and their crops fail. You murmur, half serious, and a worker nearby flinches. Good, let them spread the word. The cost of this tomb is staggering. You've diverted grain, copper, and labor from across Egypt. And whispers of unrest grow louder. Nobles grumble about taxes. Farmers curse the drought. You toss a handful of silver rings to the workers. Their cheers hollow. You know they're loyal only as long as you pay. You think of Tutankhamun, his tomb miraculously untouched for millennia, and wonder if you'll be so lucky. His treasures 5. Oh, 0 objects, from golden masks to chariots survived because his name was forgotten. You're not that obscure, and fame's a double-edged sword. You crack a joke to ease the tension, saying to a priest, "If robbers get my gold, they better tip the gods." He stares, confused, and you sigh. Divine humor's a tough sell. As the sun dips, casting the valley in shadow, you watch the final seals being placed. Priests chant, their voices low, invoking Anubis to guard your rest. You feel a chill, not from the cooling desert, but from the thought of lying here, alone. For eternity, you've done all you can traps. Curses, hidden chambers, but time's the ultimate thief. You think of Ramses II, his mummy moved by priests to escape looters, now displayed in a Cairo museum. Will that be you? Gawked at by strangers, you push the thought away, focusing on the now. Your tomb's a masterpiece, a vault for your soul, and you'll trust the gods to keep it safe. You turn back toward the palace, the valley's silence pressing in. The workers' chants fade, but the weight of your tomb lingers, a reminder that even gods can't control fate. You're a pharaoh, but also a man, hoping your name endures beyond the stone. For now, you walk on, the dust of the Valley of the Kings clinging to your sandals, each step a prayer that your eternity stays untouched. You stride through the vibrant streets of Alexandria, the sea breeze carrying the scent of salt and ambition, as you embody the Ptolemaic pharaoh, a Greek-Egyptian ruler, weaving 2 worlds into one. Your diadem gleams under the Mediterranean sun, and the city pulses with a cosmopolitan energy, Greek philosophers debating in the agora, Egyptian priests chanting to Isis, and merchants haggling over spices from Punt. You're a Ptolemy, heir to Alexander the Great's legacy, balancing Greek intellect with Egyptian mysticism to keep your throne in a world where Rome's shadow looms ever closer. It's a dazzling fusion, but one wrong move, and you're just another footnote in a collapsing empire. Better sharpen your wit and charm, because ruling this hybrid kingdom is like juggling flaming torches while riding a crocodile. The palace overlooks the harbor, where the Pharaohs lighthouse towers 330 feet, its fire guiding ships through the night. You pause to admire it. A marvel built under Ptolemy I, your ancestor, around 280 BCE. Historical records confirm it was one of the 7 wonders, a beacon of your dynasty's ambition, your Ptolemy II Philadelphus, or maybe a later heir, blending Greek and Egyptian cultures to legitimize your rule. You commission a temple to Isis, its columns carved with lotus motifs, but inscribe your name in both hieroglyphs and Greek, a nod to your dual heritage. You toss a silver coin to a passing sailor, who bows low, and mutter, "Keep the ships coming, or we're all eating papyrus." He laughs. But your half-serious trade is Egypt's lifeline. Your court is a melting pot, Greek scholars from the Library of Alexandria, founded under your dynasty, debate astronomy, while Egyptian priests push for more festivals to honor Amun. You listen, nodding, as you weigh their demands. Your Greek roots make you favor logic and poetry, but you've adopted Egyptian rituals to win the locals' hearts. You think of Ptolemy I, who crowned himself pharaoh in Memphis, donning the double crown to claim divine status. You do the same, wearing a linen kilt with a Greek-style chlamys, a sartorial compromise that screams, "I'm both. Deal with it." You crack a joke to a scribe, whispering, "If I mix any more cultures, I'll need a new wardrobe." He scribbles, probably thinking it's a royal decree. Here's a quirky tidbit to lighten the mood. Your dynasty bred sacred crocodiles in temple pools, decked out with gold jewelry, like reptilian royalty. Imagine a crocodile rocking a blinged-out collar, worshipped as Sobek's avatar. Historians still argue whether these were pampered pets or propaganda tools. But you're just glad you don't have to feed them. You glance at the harbor, where a crocodile-shaped boat floats for a festival, and chuckle. If Sobek wants gold, he can get a job. A nearby priest stiffens, and you wave it off. Divine humor doesn't always land with the devout. Your rule's a tightrope walk. Rome's growing power threatens your independence, and you send envoys with gold and papyrus to keep them friendly. At home, your siblings are a problem. Ptolemaic tradition means marrying them to keep the bloodline pure, but it also breeds rivals. You think of Cleopatra, your distant descendant, who'll face the same game, outwitting her brother Ptolemy XIII before Rome swallows Egypt. You've married your sister Arsinoe II, a move that shocks your Greek advisors, but appeases the Egyptian priests. Her sharp mind matches yours, but you watch her closely. Family's as dangerous as a Nile flood. You touch a sun disk pendant, praying for harmony, but you know trust is a luxury. You host a banquet, dazzling guests with Greek wine and Egyptian honeyed cakes. Scholars recite poetry, while dancers sway to lyres and sistrums, blending cultures in a spectacle of unity. You charm a Roman envoy, dropping hints of military aid, but your eyes scan the room for disloyalty. A noble whispers to a priest, and you signal a guard to eavesdrop. The Ptolemies thrived on patronage funding the library, compiling Manetho's history of Egypt's dynasties, but you know loyalty's bought, not earned. You think of Berenice II, who offered her hair to Aphrodite for her husband's safety, and wonder if you'd do the same for Arsinoe. Probably not, your hair's too good. You crack a joke, murmuring to a courtier, "If Rome wants Egypt, they'll have to fight my librarians first." He laughs, but the tension's real. As night falls, you stand on a balcony. The lighthouses glow, painting the sea gold. Alexandria's your legacy, a city of ideas and power. But Rome's closing in. You've built temples, funded scholars, and married strategically, but it's a fragile balance. You think of your tomb, planned with Greek urns and Egyptian shaptis, a fusion like your reign. The stars above whisper of eternity, but you're grounded by the present schemes. Alliances, a kingdom to hold. You're a Ptolemy, half god, half Greek, all pharaoh, and you'll fight to keep Egypt's light burning. Even if it's the last thing you do, you stand on a balcony overlooking the Nile, its waters glinting under a fading sun. As you reflect on the pharaoh's dazzling by disturbing legacy, a tapestry of power, obsession, and human frailty that still haunts the modern imagination, the air is warm, scented with lotus and dust, and your diadem feels lighter now, as if the weight of divine kingship has softened with time. You're no longer just one pharaoh, You're the echo of them all, Khufu, Hatshepsut, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, Ramses, Cleopatra, each leaving a mark on Egypt's sands. Their stories carved in stone and whispered in starlight. Your job now is to weave their triumphs and tragedies into a final, lingering thought, a bridge between their ancient world and the one you're drifting toward as sleep beckons. Their immortality wasn't just in tombs, it's in the way they still captivate us. Flaws and all, you gaze across the river, imagining the pyramids piercing the horizon, their limestone once gleaming like Ra's own light. Khufu's Great Pyramid, built around 2550 BCE, still stands as a testament to human ambition. It's 3 million blocks, a monument to one man's quest for eternity. But it's not just the stones that endure, it's the stories. Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh who ruled as a king, her statues bearded to claim divine authority. Akhenaten, the heretic who dared to worship one god, only to be erased. Tutankhamun, the frail boy king, whose tomb, found in 1922, dazzled the world with its golden mask. Ramses II, the Great, with his 100 children and colossal statues. And Cleopatra, whose wit almost outsmarted Rome. Each left a piece of themselves in Egypt's soul, and you feel their presence, like ghosts lingering in the twilight. Their triumphs were staggering. They built an empire that lasted 0 years, from the unification under Menes to Cleopatra's fall in 30 BCE. Their engineers crafted wonders: the pyramids, the Pharaohs' lighthouse, while their scribes penned the first peace treaty and compiled histories still used today. But their flaws were just as grand. Incestuous marriages bred genetic curses. Like Tutankhamun's clubbed foot, Watina sacrifices, like those in Jer's tomb, stained their divine hands with blood. Megalomania drove them to drain Egypt's wealth for tombs and temples, leaving farmers hungry. You think of Ramses' workers, their bones worn from hauling stone, and mutter, "Immortality's nice." But who pays the bill? A passing servant glances at you, confused, and you smile. Some things never change. Here's a quirky tidbit to soften the edge. Some pharaohs were buried with board games like Senet, hoping to play in the afterlife. Imagine Tutankhamun rolling dice with Osiris, probably losing spectacularly. Historians still argue whether these games were spiritual tools or just royal hobbies. But you like picturing a pharaoh cheating at cards to win divine favor. You chuckle, whispering to the Nile, "If I get to eternity, I'm bringing a rulebook." The river doesn't answer, but its gentle ripple feels like a nod, a reminder that even gods had human quirks. Their legacy isn't just in gold or granite, it's in the questions they leave us. Why did they cling so fiercely to immortality? What drove them to sacrifice lives? Wealth, even sanity for a shot at forever. You think of their mummies, now in museums, stared at by tourists. Ramses II's aquiline nose, Tutankhamun's delicate features, they're human, not divine, stripped bare by time, yet their stories endure, in hieroglyphs, in Hollywood epics, in your own late-night musings. You've walked their palaces, felt their fears, laughed at their crocodile dung sunscreen and pearl-dissolving stunts. They were gods, but also people, petty, passionate, flawed. You touch an imaginary ankh, feeling a kinship across millennia. As the sky darkens, the stars emerge, each a pinprick of eternity. You imagine the pharaohs up there, their souls joined with Ra, watching Egypt fade into history. Their tombs were looted, their names sometimes erased, but they won in the end. We're still talking about them, aren't we? You crack a final joke, murmuring, if I'm remembered in 3, 0 years. I hope they get my good side. The Nile's murmur answers, soft and eternal, carrying their secrets downstream. You're not a pharaoh, but you feel their weight, their dreams, their dread, their unquenchable thirst to be remembered. The night deepens, and the world grows quiet. The Nile's song, a gentle lullaby. You let your thoughts drift, like lotus petals on the water, back to the pharaoh's golden age. Their pyramids stand sentinel, their mummies whisper of lost grandeur. You're safe here, in this moment, wrapped in the warmth of their stories. Let the worries of today slip away, replaced by the glow of ancient torches, the chant of priests, the rustle of linen in a palace long gone, their triumphs and tragedies, their divine masks and human hearts. Weave a tapestry that cradles you now. Close your eyes. Let the Nile's rhythm carry you, and drift into dreams where pharaohs still reign. Their names eternal, their secrets yours to keep.